Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, January 16th, and we are on the European account. We need to do what? Here. Battle Cry cards, Overload cards, or Shaman Victories. I think we could probably do Shaman Victories. Probably, or you know, we could try Mage too. Let's hop into the Tavern Brawl. I don't even know what the Tavern Brawl was this week. I've already done the Americas ones. When you heard of, we heard you liked random cards. Choose a class and get a randomly filled deck with random cards. Random. Okay. Easy enough to do. We still have a decent amount of news and a decent amount of gameplay. So this is kind of like the first time since the beginning of 2019 I've actually had to break up recordings. Lemon Lover's on the chat. He says, "Hey guys." Hey Lemon Lover. Let's see. Just trade out all of that. We might as well jump into the news. I don't particularly want to go into a third recording, so yeah, I want to wrap up in about an hour's time. TechRaptor has an article. A money laundering scheme has been uncovered using Fortnite V-Bucks. Let's see. Let's see. It doesn't involve a specific investor or corporation, but rather the abuse of the in-game currency. Fortnite, uncovered by the independent cybercriminals, have been using Fortnite to shift money stolen from credit cards off the dark web. The stolen cards are used to buy V-Bucks, the virtual currency in Fortnite. Typically, V-Bucks are purchased to buy in-game outfits, weapons, emotes, and other in-game items. For Fortnite and Epic Games, V-Bucks have been a massive revenue stream. So you get the money inside of Fortnite, but then how do you get the money outside of Fortnite? Like, for cyber criminals, V-Bucks are purchased off stolen credit cards, then resold for a net profit off the dark web at a discount rate. Okay. This allows the stolen money to be cleaned, and not really, but okay, it's harder to trace. Let's see.
A stranger will offer you aid.
Let's see. Made more legitimate through a standard transaction. Most of these transactions are done through cryptocurrencies as well to make further money transactions untraceable. Cybersecurity firm 6 Gills spearheaded the investigation into the scale. So, like, this is kind of just a basic scam of, like, laundering money that they just put Fortnite on it, like, because Fortnite is the biggest one, and undoubtedly it is happening, but
Who's ready to make some money?
I'm not sure if there's any real news here, because this is kind of like, oh yeah, financial crimes are happening all the time. They are a slight concern, but not really a big concern, because the much bigger financial crimes are still going on. People are still getting their houses illegally foreclosed on. People are still doing insider trading. People are ruining other people's 401ks. Those are the big financial crimes that people should focus on, that happen all the time. Tragic Master put lemon and heart on the chat. So yeah. People stealing people's credit cards, yeah, it's bad. It's certainly bad, and but then it's also kind of questionable. What more can you do about that? But recruit a minion that costs 4 or less. is this?
I'm ready.
Time to collect.
My hand is too full.
YouTube Help or YouTube on Twitter put out an announcement called Strengthening Enforcement of Our Community Guidelines. The general idea, I think, is that they're going to let's see. They're going to look more at people's comments, links that people post, comments of people who are your fans. Well, this was a issue certainly in their previous announcements on how they were going to enforce things too, is that your channel could get in trouble if a fan is spamming something offensive or saying something offensive, which totally sucks. I mean, how are you supposed to control what somebody else does? Inherently, as a content creator on YouTube, the problem always boils down to is like, I'm always in this situation where I'm in trouble because of something else someone else does. I'm in trouble because some other person is lying and saying they own the copyright to something they don't own. I'm in trouble because somebody does own the copyright, but they don't believe in fair use, so they're claiming that I'm violating their copyright when I'm not legally. I'm in trouble when somebody files a false DMCA. I'm in trouble when anything happens, when someone on my chat comments something offensive, and that is the stick part of it, and there is just no carrot part. Like, you're constantly getting threatened by YouTube, and you're never rewarded by YouTube. The article, so it's like, yeah, all content including comments, thumbnails, links posted, live chat, etc. For examples, we do not allow pornography, always a nebulous term, incitement to violence, harassment, or hate speech in any form on YouTube, which is not true. And hate speech, I mean, some people say there's no such thing as hate speech. If you believe in free speech, there really can't be anything such as hate speech in a legal term, and that's pretty much how they're using it here. This probably is like a direct response to a YouTuber that I haven't even really been following this. Put something on YouTube, I don't even know what, that was critical or satirical, it seemed like, and they took it down and doubled down on why they were taking it down and keeping it down.
I'm ready.
Let's see. Kill my own guy. That is ridiculous. It says we rely on a combination of people and technology to flag inappropriate content, and frankly the technology is the problem there as far as flagging inappropriate content. Like, why don't you just wait for people to complain about it, like a normal people would? Like, I don't go outside of my house every day looking for people to be upset with. I just wait until somebody complains to me about something and then I deal with it. Or in my YouTube channel, it's like I don't go looking at my videos specifically trying to find problems with my videos. If somebody tells me there's something wrong with my videos, I probably can't fix it anyways, but that's the only point I would even spend any energy on it. The fact that YouTube has actual energy programming time spent to finding videos they deem problematic is ridiculous, because it's very possible some of these videos are not even getting a single view. Let's see. Enforcement, in quote, enforcement refers to actions YouTube takes to uphold our community guidelines. For example, removing and issuing a strike for a video that violates our policy. What is YouTube's community though? Like, it clearly is a dictatorship. I mean, it has to be. Is really anyone in the YouTube community? Is PewDiePie part of the YouTube community? Because he seems to be persona non grata. Like, he's not getting on trending or anything. Is T-Series? Is Vimeo part of the YouTube community? Is Will Smith part of the YouTube community? Am I part of the YouTube community? What's the real community here? Because it really feels like it's just people that work at YouTube are the YouTube community. Like, it feels like a lot of times when they put in their enforcement, the only people they're trying to satisfy is themselves, not the fans, not people looking at YouTube. Although I guess I'm just getting on a bit of a rant there, but yeah. 2019, same as all the previous years, YouTube still sucks.
Jade Serpent guide.
Let's see. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Onimusha Warlords. It's rated very positively. I believe this is a remake of a previous Onimusha. Let's see. This version includes the original game's intense swordplay and dramatic revenge story, plus improved controls, widescreen display, and a new soundtrack. So I'll need to see if I have an Onimusha game on Steam before. I'm not 100% sure that this is a game series I want to get into, but maybe not. You know, for as many as you would think exist as far as ninja games, there aren't actually that many on PC or in video games. There was a lot more in the NES era, certainly.
Time runs out on me.
Job done.
Watching your trailer here. I think Onimusha is the game where you're kind of running through some very narrow hallways fighting demons. It's kind of like a predecessor, I would say, to Dark Souls in all ways, because you're not every move is kind of important.
What to do? What to do?
And yeah, Onimusha is the one also with the woman that turns into like a spider, and this pretty graphic transformation of a woman turning into a spider monster that I think was censored in the West. So I guess it would be interesting to see if that censorship carried over. It probably did. But yeah, Onimusha Warlords, I guess the Warlords title will be an indicator of remakes. I'll put it on the fall list and probably put it on the wish list. Not super hot on the idea. The problem kind of right now is that
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Metastorm.
I'm in this position where older games are sort of less likely to be something I want to play, you know? Like, I've got so many good old games in my library already that it's starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel, and I'm running into things that really I'd have to have so little knowledge about it. It would have to be such a sleeper hit. It's not going to be something like the original Tomb Raider games where, like, yeah, everybody's heard of that. It's going to be something closer to Onimusha, which I think is a much more niche product. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, SteamWatch - the Steam key revoking system is a problem. SteamWatch, I believe, is a series that they're doing. It says, one of the main features of Steam is that both a godsend and in part one of the main criticisms some users have of the store, its key system. For those unfamiliar on how it works, a Steam key is a 15-character code that can be activated and assigned to a product, and assign a product to your account. A Steam key is used by developers for varying reasons. Early access keys given to selected users. Developers want to beta test their game, and early press keys given to reviewers, where keys can be found just for just a full game with no real catch. I use Steam keys all the time. I don't know what they're really even talking about here as far as it being a problem. Maybe it's a problem for people that are getting Steam keys to review games all the time.
I'm ready.
Let's see. One of the main features, let's see, where are we going? The latter tends to be the most popular one nowadays. Steam keys can be given to other distributors to allow customers to buy a Steam game from other platforms with sites like Humble Bundle and Fanatical, formerly known as Bundle Stars. Humble Bundle and Fanatical are owned by the same company, and only Humble Bundle actually gives to charity, where Fanatical you're just buying from a storefront for Steam keys. The Steam key system, while definitely good in concept, allows developers to work with distributors outside of Steam and gives more opportunities to get their games in front of a larger crowd, but it does have its flaws. The main flaws that we'll talk about here is the developer's ability to revoke customers' keys. We'll get into a more specific case of what happens when this power is in the wrong hands. Okay, and then they have a video here from Sid Alpha, Dirty Dev's Oath of Genesis keys revoked. Okay, so this is something new to me. I did not know developers could revoke Steam keys, and is that an automated refund system, or can it must be closely watched, because otherwise I think I would have heard of instances of people trying to pull scams where they sell keys and then revoke those keys. Although I don't even know why you would sell keys and then revoke the keys. What's the difference? You've already made the money. Why piss off people? Going back a significant amount of time to July 2017, I guess. One of the earliest cases of mass Steam's keys being revoked came in the form of the now removed game Steam game Oath of Genesis and its developer Note Mode Studios. I bet what happened is Steam has changed how that works. One trick that some developers pulled with Steam Greenlight was still around was giving keys for votes, which was mainly the practice of telling users that if they were to upvote the game on Steam Greenlight, they would get a free Steam key when it was released. As stated, Note Mode Studios employed this tactic, promising keys in a now deleted Steam Gifts discussion, which in archive exists in Sid Alpha's video. Despite the game being an asset flip of a top-down RPG starter kit, it received greenlight in May of 2016 and saw release the same month after it had been posted to greenlight a total of 4 times. Well, Steam greenlight has now been eliminated, so that too, as an issue, has already been addressed.
Wanna blow something up?
I'm ready.
Seemingly, what the developer didn't expect is that some of these keys given for votes ended up being posted to some gray market key redistribution sites such as G2A. However, instead of him keeping track of which keys go where and cross-referencing them to some selected developers have done, when faced with problems of key reselling, Note Mode Studios went ahead and revoked all of the Steam keys generated for Otha Genesis, ensuing backlash as some of the affected customers were not affiliated with the redistribution of keys, alongside alleged resultant harassment, and led to the developer delisting the game from Steam themselves. Well, I don't know if you can do that anymore. Let's see, there's another game here called Death Penalty Beginning. See, this is like a problem that has happened so rarely that I didn't even know it was a thing. And that's kind of amazing.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
I'm ready.
Let's go hit that. Let's see. This one was September 2017, the story Death Penalty Beginning, and I'm gonna just kind of skip that. Then we have a game called Depth of Extinction. When did this happen?
Which path to choose?
And then it says throughout 2018 there was a game called Urban War Defense, Simple Story Alex, Not My Day, and Typical Nightmare. Let's see, okay. So apparently even in 2018 it's still doable. Alright, so skipping down to the conclusions part. Let's do this.
The Fire Lord.
Do this.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
I'm like one short. The conclusion goes, it seems amazing, really, that Valve gives its developers so much power over their buyers that repeated instances like this can occur. But Valve only stepping in on one of these instances, Death Penalty to Beginning, we've seen developers commit fraud, scam their customers, and have just acted irrationally when faced with this criticism. Now, if I take a break here, I could see how Valve could say, well, lazily, this actually is an easy thing to ignore because you can only have your Steam key revoked if you buy a game via outside the Steam store. But it does look bad on the Valve store if this kind of stuff happens. Continuing with the conclusion. What some of these guys don't understand is what seems to be angering them is if they're the one that revoked the key, then naturally customers will come and complain to them, since at least with the instances citing lack of payment from third-party sites. The bundle sites hold no control of the keys once they've been given out.
What to do?
What is my purpose?
New paragraph. Anything can happen to these keys, and that's one of the reasons why the whole practice of these key distributors can be risky. All of this needs to be considered before doing business with third-party sites. Yes, the keys can turn up on GTA once they've been bought. Yes, if you're willingly giving hundreds of thousands of keys away, don't expect that to make you a profit. Yes, your buyers can dislike your game after you've bought it. One of the key issues that arises from each of these, namely with Oath of Genesis, Urban War Defense, and Electro-Stalin Entertainment, is that not tracking who you're doing business with leads to accidentally revoking access from people that purchased the game legitimately. They would have still gotten backlash for revoking any amount of keys regardless, but the lack of organization and care put into which keys were sent just made the whole situation much worse.
Reporting for duty.
If it's an issue between the developer and distributor of the keys, I don't see a justifiable reason to revoke keys, as these examples have shown. It just leads to the community being against you. Alright, so this just keeps on going for another paragraph or more. Well, yeah, that's an interesting story. I didn't know that this was a problem, and I don't honestly know if it is much of a problem, but it certainly does bring about some questions.
See now the power of the Dark Fallen.
There we go. As for me personally, I buy things on Humble Bundle and I buy things on Steam Direct. That's kind of it. I, for the most part, wouldn't recommend anything else for anybody else. Any other storefront doesn't have enough games for it to be a single local place to have a good collection, and I definitely wouldn't recommend GTA. I definitely wouldn't recommend any other place. If somebody gave me a key that they got off some site, like through a Twitter direct message,
Which path to choose?
and it didn't work, I wouldn't complain about it, but or even probably tell the person that it didn't work. I would just be like, okay, thanks. Thanks for your support.
I must act now.
That might lead to some awkwardness, certainly, if I'm doing a sale wishlist video and I'm saying, hey, I'm still trying to buy this game, because this person gave me a key. I probably wouldn't even remember or bring that part of the story up, but yeah. The only thing you could do, though, if you're going down the route of we need to take away the ability that we've already given to game developers for making it impossible for them to revoke game keys, is kind of for Valve to say no more game keys.
My hand is full.
And Valve doesn't probably want to do anything that looks like it's anti-competitive and get sued by people. So if they were to say no more game keys, you can't sell that way, it would upset more people than anything. So you can't solve it that way. I don't know what else you can really do there. The thing I would say is, if you look at like Gearbox's shift codes for Borderlands 2, it'd be nice if there were keys for like in-game currencies of sorts. In Borderlands, it's golden keys. You put in a numeric key passcode to get golden keys, but everybody can use those keys. It would be nice if Steam had something like that to push people to go back and play things like Artifact, which from what I'm hearing, Artifact is here, let's come back here and actually make sure I'm doing the right thing. Playing mage cards or winning with shaman. Let's try playing with the shaman. Yeah. But it would be nice if there was multiple use, or anybody can use this key once type keys. I think in general it'd be nice if codes could be a little shorter, but it's kind of difficult to do it shorter and still be secure. You have to introduce color or some special emoji characters, things that can't easily be retyped. But I guess Valve could say, look, developers, unless you're a certain level, and I think Valve kind of does need to do this, they need to have you're in our trusted group, and you're in a medium trust group, or you're in a low trust group. And I think for new game developers, you're going to be in our low trust group, and you probably wouldn't call it the low trust group, but do something like that where low trusted people can't revoke keys. Honestly, maybe nobody can revoke keys. I suppose you're not gonna get your money back if you buy a key at a store like GTA and the key doesn't work because it's revoked, whereas you might get your money back or store credit if you bought it at some other stores. But it is going to be very much up in the air. I guess there's not too much more you can say about that. Interesting thought, though. Next we have a game on Steam called Trickster VR Co-op Dungeon Crawler. This looks kind of interesting, but it also kind of looks disorienting because you're walking around, and I've yet to see that really work in VR where you can walk around and hack and slash, because the desire is to walk. As we're looking at this video, this guy is standing still, yet his character is moving directly. And we have some characters he's hacking and slashing that looks slightly like a Kratos character, very suspicious. But there's a decent amount of polish on this. But it is a VR game. It's $11.04, and it says it's a co-op dungeon crawler. Yeah, I'm not super sold on the idea of dungeon crawlers in the first place, so the co-op one doesn't make a lot of sense either.
There's little time.
It's in the chat. Yeah, the enemies you're fighting do look a lot like Kratos.
The ancient curse.
And it seems like you can teleport yourself and you walk around. Yeah, this game is rated very positive, but I'm just going to leave it at that and not even put it on the follow list, which is probably a huge condemnation of condemnation of just where I am as far as being interested in playing a VR game. Next we have an article from Gamasutra. A new Steam update makes browsing for DLC easier. Valve has updated the Steam Store interface to make browsing for DLC much easier. This change is especially helpful for developers who have released lots of DLC for their game, as this new format gives players less clutter to sift through. As detailed in the blog post, all games that feature DLC now have a dedicated page for add-on content, and developers now have the ability to label and sort their content into different lists, which is actually something that needs to be done for quite a few games, because there's definitely, like, most games with a season pass have buy the season pass or buy everything that's in the season pass individually, and it is done in a way that makes it look like, at least, that they're trying to trick you into they're trying to trick you into buying the same game twice, or the same content twice. For example, developers can create separate DLC lists for items like cosmetics, characters, and texture packs. Before the update, DLC was previously displayed in a list format with prices next to each other. Clicking on those products would pull up more information. A preview of the different DLC options will still be shown on the main store page, and selecting the View All button next to the DLC section will pull up a new display which will feature all the DLCs with screenshots and other relevant information. Some of the DLCs also have some pretty bad screenshots on them. Awesome. Let's see if we've got anything. Oops. So yeah, I'm gonna have to look at a Steam page with some DLC before I can see if how this feels to me, but particularly with all the plugins I have installed in. But sounds like it's a good deal. I certainly have gotten burned a few times where I've bought games and then it didn't have the DLC I wanted with it, or I've maybe even bought some games where I purchased DLC I really didn't want. There's certainly been games I've gotten that came with DLC that I didn't particularly care about. But I don't care if I own something I'm never going to play as much as I care about owning something, not owning something I do want to play. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Angry Punisher. It looks like you're playing as an executioner in some kind of... I don't know if this is just running around killing people in different ways. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know if there's some video here of the actual gameplay, because that would be interesting. See, this is one of those trailers where you're just seeing the character walk around and the background is changing. 30% off, $2.79. I guess what I'll do is, I guess you have to get angry at somebody and then grab them, and then you kill them in maybe several different ways, or maybe only 3. I'll put this on the follow list. I'll see if maybe this turns out to be a decent idea of a game. It probably won't be, but it might be a good goof game for an hour or two. In return, Komatsu has an article, Chaos Child for PC coming to the West January 22nd. The April 2016 released PC version is finally heading westward. Spike Chunsoft will be releasing the PC version of Chaos Child for Steam via Steam January 22nd. It's a science adventure series visual novel that first launched December 2014 on the Xbox One, followed by the PS4 and PS3 and Vita in June 2015. So, like, I don't know if this ever came over to, like, the PS4 and Vita versions were released in North America and Europe in October 2017. So it seems like, yeah, they're releasing it yet again. There's a video here. Let's see what it is about. Chaos Child is an interesting name. It says it's from the creators of Steins Gate, so immediately Steins Gate's been really popular. It's gotten a couple animes. So this is probably an example of a developer team or such that that has gained some popularity, so they can re-release some of their older stuff to a wider audience. Like, I imagine there was at least a time in which many like novelists had their breakout hits, and people went back and read some of their previous works. But I'm not sure if that's really the case, because it kind of feels like if a novelist becomes popular or not, it is their first novel. And even if you think about, like, Stephen King, if you're reading the best Stephen King novels, you probably don't want to go back and read the worst ones.
It's time for sure.
So this trailer's kind of talking about a chaos world. So it's showing like 5 anime girls. Or 6 or 7 anime girls being led by an anime guy.
What to do?
Random minion for the player's hand in the battlefield.
My totems! My pretty totems!
So yeah, it looks like it's for the most part a Steins Gate-esque visual novel. Interesting. So probably be a pretty popular one too when it comes out. Still very happy to follow Gamasutra and see these Japanese games that just don't get covered anywhere else. It's as a website providing something that the others are not. Like, it's kind of like the what is that store that used to be in malls, Spencer's? Like you would go into a Spencer and look through the Spencer's gifts, and there'd be a lot of things that just weren't in other stores. I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the right store. There's a couple like that. Whereas nowadays, if you go into one Walmart, it probably has roughly the exact same thing any other supermarket or grocery store has in it. There's not too much you're going to find that's unique or different. And as far as unique and different things, that's always an increasing rare thing to find. Let's see. Hats. Mech. This. Next we have a game on Steam called Unsung Warriors Prologue. Sounds like it's a demo, but it doesn't look bad as what looks like a platformer hack and slash game. It's free. Apparently they've just launched their Kickstarter campaign. 2D action adventure game. Doesn't look terrible. It is certainly some more of a polished launch. It's an... I don't recognize either of these names. So this is something I could put on the fall list, but then in the fall list I probably should just remove it. I guess technically it is just a demo, so I guess I'm not going to put it on the fall list. We may see something about Unsung Heroes in the future. That's pretty much all you can say, is that yeah, in the future at some point we may see something. We may see a series called Unsung Heroes. We already talked about that article.
Mogadetza, Moga destroy. No, Moga kill.
Let's see, next we have a game on Steam that's a bunch of Asian characters called Hero Dream of School. It's tagged with sexual content. There's actually quite a lot of these RPG Maker looking games out that come out that just have like 5 sex scenes and that's all they're trying to sell themselves on. That like apparently China or some Asian country feels like you can make a bad RPG and it will sell as long as you have like 5 sex scenes that are terribly animated and barely 20 stills of images. The English language is not supported here. This is 84 cents. Let's see. And it's simplified Chinese. To like a lot of that happens. I don't know particularly why. Because yes, I do believe in Japan, at least it used to be. Maybe it's not so much nowadays. It used to be that RPGs were everything, and because of that, you could totally sell even the most basic RPG game, and it would make decent sales. I don't know if that's the case anymore. Like, I don't see how even somebody who is a RPG otaku in Japan would really be scraping the bottom of the barrel when they could just be playing World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy. I mean, that's where Final Fantasy and Dragon, what is it, Monster Hunter come in, is that those are really, really long, really, really good RPGs, so why would you need something more? I am not getting the victories I need, so I'm gonna switch over to the Hunter, even though that doesn't come in line with any of our daily quests. Next we have a game on Steam called Eldarin Dreams to Destiny. This is just another RPG Maker looking game. This one isn't tagged with sexual content.
Begin.
Like, it's $3.39 and says it supports English only. So I think part of the problem is we have 3 different regions all making terrible RPG games. You have Japan occasionally making terrible RPG Maker looking games. You have the West in general, the United States and Europe, making terrible RPG Maker looking games. And you have China making terrible RPG looking games. And it's all, I think, a lot of it is just built around We want to make a simplistic game that is built, that takes a lot of time, so we can sell it as taking a lot of time. It's kind of a failure even in modern game sales, because if you could make a game that takes a lot of time, why wouldn't you then put microtransactions in it and make it a games as service? Because that's the new way to do things. Why not make something like Destiny? Although Destiny has a lot of polish. Moving on though, we have a game on Steam called Debris Filled, which is a flying around space game shooting at things. Again, these type of games are just never really my thing. I guess I'm just not too big into space in general as a concept, but there's nothing here that looks particularly interesting. This is $13.49 discounted. Yeah. Yep, nothing there catches my eye.
My mouth very explodes.
Quickly.
Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Chocolate Makes You Happy Valentine's Day. Now, the Chocolate Makes You Happy series, I haven't seen this in a while, is just a physics balancing game, and it's just like a low effort series of developers there's a lot of Chocolate Makes You Happy games. Let's see, if we click here and look at Blender Games, you have this is the same developer who makes the Amaze series, and let's see, there was a Chocolate Makes You Happy Halloween. So they're flooding the Steam market, 25% off for 74 cents with these very low effort games. And he's been able to do it for quite a long time without any real penalty or slow down. So of course that's not making it to the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called Metal Division, which is a drive around shooting things instead of a fly around in space shooting things. I would say when you compare the two, even though this is a very generic, no textured background that you're driving on, solid color, it looks a lot easier to look at with those bright, colorful colors instead of a black darkness as the background. This is $4.99 with no discount. It's nothing though as a game, so of course it's not going to the follow list either. Next we have a game on Steam called Axe Survival. This looks like this is possibly an asset flip game. It looks like it's a decent assets have been purchased, but I don't know how much of a game here it is. It's just a camera flying all around, and you're seeing some zombies in the screenshots, but you're not seeing any kind of UI or interface or any kind of weapon in your hands. Here's a weapon in your hands. Yeah, this feels like an asset flip game. So this is one of those games where I'm just willing to ignore it and see if somebody else reports on it. $19.99. You can look at this developer and see if they've developed anything else. No, they haven't, so that's just another nail in the coffin. That reminds me, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but the reason that Griss's ad on Facebook was rejected for being sexually provocative is because Griss, I guess being published by Digital Devolver, or Devolver Digital, had on their Instagram page, they had a picture of the game Scum, which is a survival game that came out and really didn't interest anybody. But they had this kind of provocative picture where the guy was walking away from the screen and his naked behind was visible. So the fact that the Scum picture was on Instagram and showed a naked male butt stopped the ad for the other game Griss from being published. Which, I mean, I guess that just says that you're gonna have to be careful with Facebook, and maybe Facebook should be a little bit more clear up front on what they expect and what they're looking for, because these kinds of stories shouldn't be popping up. It probably means that Facebook wasn't really looking too hard before, and now they've started looking hard, which is probably a good thing. Anything Facebook can do to avoid looking like the bad guy and doing the wrong thing is the right move for Facebook. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Gunbeat, which it looks like it's a VR shooter game, but maybe set to music?
I wonder.
Seems like it's an odd combination of two things. Beat enemies to the beat, it says. Requires VR, $6.29. Yeah. So, honestly, it just feels like another stand in one place, shoot a bunch of things, although this does seem like it has slightly better polish for like a Beat Saber and Super Hot Combo clone. Let's come over here and play though.
Quickly.
I'm gonna try to wrap up the recording here, even though we probably just need to jump to the Asian account because I'm not succeeding at all here. This is pretty bad. Pretty bad. This gives me another excuse to not get back to recording Minecraft or playing anything, so this is bad. I guess I need to play mage class cards. If we come over here, tempo mage, play rank, just do that. I'm tired of the tavern balls. Tavern balls still kind of suck. They still kind of suck. And it's a lot of work for that extra pack. Next we have a game on Steam called Crazy Forest. It looks like its frame rate is pretty bad. Here, you're playing as animals that seem to run backwards quite a lot. And you're just kind of on an asset flip island with asset flip low polygon things, if I was to guess. Your character doesn't turn at all. Only goes forward and backwards. That's how bad it's programmed. Instead, the entire world turns. $3.74 discounted. I've been watching Game Grumps, or whatever, on that, but they're playing Double Switch 25th Anniversary Edition, and boy, even though the 25th Anniversary Edition has improved the user interface a little bit, man, I did not remember the game to be as difficult as it is. It's a really short game in general, but it requires you to, and it encourages you to play it over and over again, and it puts in a lot of points where you're gonna fail. When I think about Burn Cycle, another full motion video game that I played around the same time, which I shouldn't have, it was definitely not anywhere near my age rating. The thing about Burn Cycle in comparison was it was more of a you've got to go around and solve puzzles and find objects and talk to different people, whereas Double Switch is very specific in its own game mechanic, where it's very much like Night Trap. I'm hoping in the 25th edition there's a way to just watch all the videos, or watch all the videos in like a easy mode where you don't have to actually play.
We have many secrets.
Because that's what I'd be looking for. Is I'm not sure there even is a way to play the game and see all the content in each of the different rooms that you can move the camera to.
How long can this go on?
So
Can this go on?
So you're in this weird position where you even now you're not gonna be able to see everything. 5 damage split. Let's see. Moving on. I still want to get Double Switch 25th edition though. I definitely want to play it and cover it. But I do also kind of think maybe I'd only spend 5 hours on it because of how short it was, or how difficult it was. I might get back to it and decide and realize that it's actually super hard. Like, and back in the day when I was a kid, I just had so much free time that never really occurred to me. Nowadays, I'm more picky, as we all are. Moving on though, we've got a game on Steam called Blast, which looks like it's a laser directing puzzle where you manipulate the walls. So that puts a kind of different spin on it, and this makes it look a little bit different. So yeah, you manipulate the walls and you connect the pieces. I don't know if this actually opens the door to a lot of puzzles, but it's an interesting idea. So this is $2.69 discounted. I'll put this on the fall list. Like, I could totally see myself wanting to play one good laser puzzle game, but I don't want to go down the path of playing dozens of them that might be available on Steam. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article, Vane Review -Pain. Now Vane, I believe, was this game that that only really got any coverage or announcement like a month ago by TechRaptor. And the idea that it's already out or already available for review seems weird. It's like these childlike creatures that turn into birds, and it was, I guess, somewhat supposed to be like a Journey-esque game. And I'm scrolling down this review because I want to review it. Read the entire review, particularly if it's just gonna be a bad game. TechRaptor gave it a 2.5, which is the lowest score I've ever seen, I think, from TechRaptor. 2.5 terrible. Summary.
asked for it.
Vane's first 15 minutes are amazing, then the game plummets in quality faster than a diving bird. Tons of glitches, obtuse puzzles, terrible controls, an awful camera, and stuttering frame rate kept Vane from being worth your time. Pros, an amazing first 15 minutes, wonderful soundtrack. Cons, terrible flying controls, camera's awful, puzzles are often obtuse, nonsensical, extremely glitching, and stunning problems. So, yeah. I would like to keep an eye out to see if anybody else reviews or plays this game, Vane. Let's see. Vane is on the PS4. That's going to be surprising, and the copy was given to the developer. So that's always nice to see too, is that somebody got the game for free and they still rip it a new one. So it must be just terrible. Of course, the thing about Vane compared to like Duke Nukem Forever is Duke Nukem Forever will almost certainly forever be remembered as one of the worst games ever because of the anticipation, the hype, the amount of effort and known development to put into it, where Vane will be easily forgotten in 6 months. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Nintendo of Europe issues a formal warning to Russia's boss after investigation. But platform holder says accusations of harassment by General Manager Yasha Hadaji remain unsubstantiated. So, there were allegations. I don't know if I really reported it or got the full story there, but there seems to be some kind of abuse that the Nintendo Russian general manager was doing. Like, let's see. Yasha Haja, general manager of Nintendo Russia, was seen swearing at colleagues during a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe broadcast in November, and the viral spread of this footage prompted more severe allegations from colleagues. Nintendo Life reported claims from several of Hodge's employees who said he was known for violent tantrums, verbal abuse, and bullying. Other outlets even showed accusations of sexual harassment. So, like, he's just not somebody that should be in a general manager position, it seems like, unless everything they're saying is totally not true. And then why are people making up these things, these accusations? Yeah. And when you're talking Russia in general, you have to probably be pretty bad, pretty much a huge harasser and abuser for it to be an issue even to other Russians. Russia was the country that just like a year or two ago decriminalized spousal abuse and saw the incidences of spousal abuse increase significantly because of it. That's kind of how backwards, regressive the country kind of is for its many poverty problems. But I don't want to get into a full description of how I understand Russia's social ills are going with its heavy alcoholism problems and poverty and homophobia.
An incredible discovery!
Let's see. Let's keep on playing these mage cards, I guess. Next we have a game on Steam called Rava the Cyclops Curse. I kind of like this thumbnail, but looking at the actual screenshots, it doesn't really look like it's any kind of game I really want to play. It just has kind of like an NES feel, And frankly, if I wanted to play an NES game, I would play a classic NES game. I would play something like Super Mario Brothers or an old Castlevania. So there's plenty of old NES games I never played, so why would I want to play something new that looks like that when I know you could do better nowadays? It's 15% off for $2.54, and yeah, I just don't, it's just not selling me visually, so I'm not going to put it on the follow list. Let's see. I'll transform this. And in my turn, I guess. Next, we have a game on Steam called No Box The Top, not The Box Top, which seems like it's the exact same screenshot over and over again of just menus. Like, I'm not even seeing a game here. Let's see, what does the video look like? Yeah, it feels like they don't actually have a menu. Oh, I guess maybe the idea is you have to pick a number of how many red bricks there are. Or maybe you're counting the number of white bricks on top. That seems very basic. It's 99 cents, and yeah, I don't see anything interesting there. Okay.
Time runs out on me.
Well played.
I'm about to lose again, but whatever. Gamatsu has an article. The ESRB rates Serious Sam collection for PS4 and Xbox One update. Apparently Serious Sam is getting re-released again. It was previously on the PS3 and Xbox 360. It includes Serious Sam HD First Encounter, Serious Sam HD Second Encounter, and Serious Sam BFE, and Serious Sam Double DXXL. I own, I think, all the Serious Sam games, or almost all of them. Maybe I'm missing one of the very first ones, or some version of one of the first ones. So that would be a slight reason, maybe, for me to go back and try and get that done. Let's move over to the Asian account, but I'll have to remember to come back to the European account to do the Tavern Brawl off screen. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have time though to play the Serious Sam games anytime soon. And then honestly, if I'm thinking about it, there's probably some other games that are similar, like Rage 1, that would make a lot more sense. Oh, and by the way, I never got this Challenge a Friend done. So, should I keep this Challenge a Friend, or should I just re-roll this at this point? 12 minions that cost 8 or more. I'm just going to get rid of the Challenge a Friend because that is more difficult to do than anything else. Gamatsu has another article. Pro Yakyu Spirits 2019, that's PROYAKYUU Spirits 2019, has 3D scanned character models and performance-based player AI. This is a Japanese-based baseball game. Here we can just show it off. And so yeah, Japanese baseball players. Baseball is pretty popular in Japan. It's no sumo or anything like that, but it looks like if you were into Japanese baseball, it sounds like that's the one for you. I'd love this card. Can I actually get this card on the field somehow? Excuse me, sorry. My back is still a mess, and it's probably going to be a mess for months. I've just like multiple times a day using a heating pad on it, and using a soft back brace anytime I walk from any place to just not twist it and continue the pain.
I can wait and fish all day. Job done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Bloody Spell with some Asian characters. Interesting, this came out the same time as Onimusha Warlords, because it does kind of seem like it's a very similar style of game, although to be fair, this looks like this is much more modern. Does this support English? Because this looks cool. I was just saying there really aren't enough like ninja, samurai, Asian style characters. They get turned into fantasy characters if they make it to if the game makes it to the West. It's $19.99. It's English and simplified Chinese. It's mostly positive. This might be a good Chinese game, so I'll put it on the follow list and we'll see how that goes. Of course, it would have to come out of early access, and there's a considerable amount of games that are still very much early access.
Job done.
And they're never going to come out for either early access.
Princess.
We haven't talked about this news story, and I guess it's a pretty big one. Gamasutra has the article. EA's Vancouver's open world Star Wars game has been cancelled. Now, isn't this the one that the writer of The Last of Us was working on, and she left that department or that division? Like, so wasn't this this already kind of implied or known? I feel like this was pretty obvious. Let's see. The title was being built using some of the assets from Visceral's scrapped Star Wars project, which was handed over to EA Vancouver after the studio's closure in 2017. So this was a game codenamed Orca. So maybe the Visual closure is the one I'm thinking about, and now they've just finally abandoned it. It would have seen players take the role as the bounty hunter or Han Solo-esque scoundrel and explore various open world planets populated by different factions. It says nobody's been laid off as a result of the cancellation, and some even believe that Orca might eventually see the light of day after EA has finished working on its new projects. Well, you wouldn't cancel it, then you would shelve it. You would use very different terminology if that's what you're doing.
The future is now.
Like, EA is EA, and EA is the worst. I mean, what can you really say, though? They canceled the game, surprise, surprise. In the end, if we ever want to see another good Star Wars game, we need the Star Wars licenses to be taken away from EA and put somewhere else. And I wouldn't be surprised if this might be because of that, you know. Battlefront, not a huge success, and made a lot of negative press for Star Wars. Star Wars, the movie series, most recently not as big of a success as I think anybody wanted them to be. So Disney has said they're going to slow down on Star Wars fatigue and overproducing Star Wars, so they might include video games in that. So, like, maybe a new company is in talks right now or already in development of a better Star Wars game that's not EA. That's one way you could hope it goes. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. The Westworld mobile game is shutting down following the lawsuit settlement. The game was removed from the App Store, Google Play, after an amicable resolution of the copyright dispute. That doesn't sound very amicable, but I imagine Westworld Mobile wasn't really making any money anyway, so this is probably an example of them just they got as much money out of it as they could, and maybe they even got a few more bucks from Bethesda and agreed to take the game down. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Hitman developer IO Interactive has opened a new studio in Malmö, Sweden, M-A-L-M-O. I think we've already talked about this. So yeah. Yeah, that's something.
The beasts obey me.
Beasts.
Don't forget to tip your Tauren.
Death Rattle. Death. Gamasutra has an article. Unity updates its terms of service again in response to the improbable dispute. Unity has revised its terms of service to ensure developers can use any third-party services they integrate into Unity. The changes in response to engine makers' dispute with Spatial OS creators improbable, and means the company is no longer in breach of Unity's terms of service, says Unity said in a blog. I don't know what Unity was thinking doing that, and I just looked at a 2019 games that are coming out that used Unreal, and with the exception of like very simplistic mobile games, there's a lot of different looking games that are coming out in 2019 that are made with Unreal, including like Kingdom Hearts, but some of them are more flat 2D-esque 2.5D looking games. A lot of them are 3D games that could certainly be first-person shooters. But if Unity drops the ball, it is going to be a significant amount of people making Unreal, and then the number 2 player as far as your game development engine of choice will be some random in-house choice or Crysis or Crytek or something like that. And Unity really can't afford that. Instead, Unity, I thought, was pushing forward towards making more games that were more 3D first-person shooter-esque instead of slow puzzle cell phone looking games. But if you're making it even a little bit more difficult to make a cell phone game, why use Unity in the first place? I'm gonna skip the rest of this article though, just for time's sake. It seems like Unity is trying to figure that out and trying to not have a mess on its hands of its own creations. Next we have a game on Steam called ZAM, Z-A-M-B, Endless Extermination. I feel like there was another game called ZAM that had already come out. So maybe something came out early access and this is getting re-released. $2.99. Let's look at this developer and see if they had made something else. No, I guess maybe I'd just seen this somewhere else. This doesn't look amazingly good as a top-down twin-stick shooter, but it looks like it has enough polish that it deserves a chance. So I'll put this on the follow list. Price isn't too high either. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has the same article. Unity CEO clarifies Improbable's violations future plans in AMA. John Riccatello emphasizes. I didn't know John Riccatello was the guy in charge of Unity. Emphasizes the platform's developers' first focus as driving the TOS changes. Let's see. There's gotta be some industries where a CEO says, I'm gonna go do an AMA on Reddit, and people fire that guy. It seems so ridiculous that that's how you're going to try and address issues. Let's see. Here's a quote. We feel we were right to have terminated their licenses for TOS violation. We were hoping for an open and honest discussion with them on these issues, but we're not able to get a good discussion. Separately, we heard from our community that our TOS and made changes that reflects the way we feel is right. Aside from improbable, we've never terminated licenses for a service provider and would not have in this instance had they been more open with us. In another response, he offered a marginally more specific outline as to what the violation is. We feel they were in violation both on a technical level and with marketing. We asked them to certify to us in writing that they were not in violation. They did not provide us this written certification. They then changed their implementation with a new GDK. We again asked them to certify they were not in violation of our terms of service. We asked them to do so in writing. They did not. They also, in our view, used Unity trademarks and brands in their marketing materials and on their websites in ways that suggested a partnership that did not exist. Yeah. So it kind of feels like what is going on if you believe Unity, and I kind of would prefer to believe Unity, and maybe I'm a little biased here, that Spatial OS's creator was pulling some shenanigans, but clearly they were able to spin it and get the news stories out, so it made it look like Unity was in the wrong to the point where Unity had to change its license. Because again, let's see.
The beasts obey me.
Just going to kill this. Gamer Sutra has an article. Jam City secures $145 million to support global growth and acquisition plans. Mobile developer Jam City, creator of Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, has gotten more money, unfortunately, for as terrible as that game is. Let's see. Let me look at this one because it's tagged with sexual content first. So, next game we have on Steam is called Furries and Scalies and Bears Oh My. Now, I don't get this as a joke because furries would be bears. Or you would call it berries. I guess you could do that too. And it seems like these are some generic, just kind of not bad animations of anthropomorphic humans, but this probably is just a troll game for $9.99. Yeah, I don't see anything here that looks interesting. It's tagged sexual content. Yeah, this I am perfectly fine to play a game built around the furry culture or scaly culture, but I'm not willing to. I guess I could have tried to attack this and see what happened, but it's got to be a good game in the first place. Like, I'm not just gonna dive deep into those type of games. Alright, Gamma Sutra has an article. Niantic closes a funding round with 245 million raised. This is a Series C funding round. So yeah, Niantic is definitely working towards making a lot of money. Right. Let's see.
I don't have enough mana. My fang and claw. This beast will not be tamed.
Let's see. You're trying to wrap up everything.
Investigation commencing.
TechRaptor has the same article. Take-Two in legal brawl with the Pinkertons over Red Dead Redemption 2. We talked about that early in the stream. It sounds like it's a ridiculous claim on the Pinkertons' part, and it will not go anywhere. TechRaptor has an updated article. Open Star Wars games canceled by EA. Let's see. The update says last night Kotaku's Jason Schreier clarified some of his article to give a reason why the Star Wars game was cancelled. According to Schreier, the game, codenamed Orca, was in very early stages of development and when See the Player. Because of its early stage, the top brass looking over the roadmap for releases over the next 4 years decided they needed a game to be released earlier than Orca's planned release date. So they're canceling that game because they need a different game? Like, that's kind of what it seems like it's building into. The decision was to cancel Orca in favor of a smaller scale Star Wars project that could be released much sooner, like late 2020 according to the sources. Schreier also notes that 2020 is around the timetable when the next generation consoles are planning to launch, meaning a new smaller scale Star Wars game might be a candidate for a launch title on hypothetical systems. That's just stupid management though. Like, I don't care how small scale you think you can make a Star Wars game, you need to build in a couple years of development on that extra. This new game that has had no work on it at all so far, that they're replacing Orca with, it's gonna be 2, 3, 4 years late. Almost certainly, if it ever comes out. Like, and in all honesty, if they're flippantly canceling one that's already slightly in development, you're probably going to run into one that is just in more development, longer development. Anyways. Alright, well, that was nice. Let's open up this pack. There's still a decent number of like legendaries and other kinds of cards for classic set that I need to get. I still feel like next expansion still should have 15 packs, if we can do it, of classic cards unlocked. On the European and Asian accounts at least. I don't think that's really necessary anymore. Unfortunately, I have to get more Tavern Brawls. So, even though I won, I'm just going back here. TechRaptor has an article, City of Brass is coming to the Switch in February. Now, I don't think there's really anything wrong with City of Brass, but it just never caught anybody's attention. So, it's kind of weird that it's going to come to the Switch. It's already on the PC, Xbox One, and PS4, and nobody's playing it. But assume it was in development all at the same time and it just took longer for them to get it to work on the Switch, because it does seem like that is the case, that the Switch development is more difficult than what people seem to think it would be. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. REKT Global announces $10.8 million funding round. This is the Gross Labs founder Nick Gross leads a funding round and joins the board. Rekt Global is like a League of Legends Europe Championship. It seems like, yeah, that I guess would explain why I don't recognize it.
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Metastorm.
There we go. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Away from Earth Moon, which does not look particularly interesting. Just looks like a low polygon asset flip space game. Like $1.19 with a bunch of flags that you can buy. So it can try and sell you some in-game items. We do actually have more games on my wish list that are going, well, not on the wish list, but going to the falling list today than we have probably in the previous 3 weeks. So we're starting to see things that are at least contenders show up again. Gamatsu has an article. Salt and Sanctuary is coming to Xbox One on February 6th. Okay. Salt and Sanctuary, another Dark Souls 2D game that I'm not really sure I'm really at that point where I'd want to play it. I may already own it, but that is that, I guess. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Saisin the Game, which looks like it's probably just an asset flip first person shooter game. Yeah, nothing here looks interesting. Discounted for $4.49. Easily dismissed game. A Gamatsu has an article. The quote co-op holy punk brawler Obey Me has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's due out Q3 in 2019. Has a screenshot here of a dog and a lady with a gun. Let's see. Publisher Blowfish Studio and developer of Arrow 4 games. I'm not sure I've know either one of those. Let's see. There's a video here. I'm gonna watch it. I guess the dog is... well, it says it's a hellhound. Maybe the dog is controlling the person, or the person is controlling the dog.
I wonder.
So, if I do this, and do this, and then... So the girl is labeled as a soul huntress, and it looks like a top-down Diablo-esque hack and slash game.
Job done.
It's claiming to be a dynamic 3D brawler. Looks like you're fighting like pus monsters of sense, like demons with giant pustules and swelling. Looks like there's a whole comic book background in this, so maybe there's something to that too. Because they did show a bunch of comic book things. It says, in addition to the game, Obey Me's story is told in a series of graphic novels published by Dynamite Comics featuring art by Marvel veteran Ben Herrera, whose resume includes X-Men and Spider-Man covers. Issue 0 is due out in March. So this is like a comic book tie-in game. Interesting. But most new comic books are never given a chance to succeed, so I really doubt this one would be given a chance to succeed either. So in the end, you're going to probably only be left with a game, and hopefully the game is somewhat decent. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Yo-Yo Games promotes Stuart Poole, P-O-O-L-E, to general manager. Poole was previously the head of production and partnerships. He replaces the outgoing GM James Cox. Yo-Yo Games is the company behind Game Maker Studio 2. So I don't know, any of these Game Maker Studios, RPG Maker type programs are not something that I am super cool with.
That was wild.
Let's see. Whenever you target this menu with spell, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. Okay.
Job's done.
Gamatsu has a article, Flowers, Les Quartet, Q-U-A-R-T-R-E, Saisons. I believe this is French for Flowers Les Quartet Seasons, or the 4 seasons. Has a debut trailer. Subtitle says all 4 Flowers titles in one package. I've never heard of a Flowers series, and it does have kind of a unique watercolor animation to it, looking at this. So this is probably a visual novel. I'll watch it. It's coming out for the PS4 March 7th in Japan. Yeah, visual novel tag. So I'll watch this and we'll see what this is. This could go in any number of different directions. I need 5 if I can play 5.
Pinch of death cup, heel of shoe.
Hey, I can see my house from here.
Okay,
That was wild.
let's do this.
It's time.
That.
Chaos.
That. In the turn. So it looks like it's a bunch of girls in like fairy wings and white dresses, kind of like a ballerinas, or white lily flowers representing possibly different flowers. Yeah, it looks very ballerina-ish. And it's not atypical in anime, at least, to have an intro like this, and it subverts your expectation, and it's an incredibly dark and disturbing series. Particularly when you take the idea that white in Shintoism or Buddhism is the color of death, not black like in the West. It says a tale of girls who grow with the season. Okay. Well, that sounds interesting. There's no indication it's actually coming to the west, though.
Warriors of the frozen wastes, rise.
Seriously?
Revenge.
Job's done.
Moving on, we're trying to wrap up. GameIndustry.biz has the same article. IO Interactive opens a new studio in Malmo. Second studio will support Hitman series, enable IO to develop a new universe and new franchises, which it kind of needs to do, I guess. Let's see. We're about to lose.
I have to apologize.
Let's see. So we're making little bits of progress here, but I need to play 5 more very expensive cards and 9 more Death Rattle cards, and I kind of have to get 2 Tavern Brawls done today, because the Tavern Brawl will be gone by Wednesday, and that'll be that. I kind of wish the Tavern Brawls were always open, or just closed for like 1 day at most. That way you could not lose any opportunities that you needed to do. So we just have a couple of, like 4 pages. So we have a game here on Steam called Vision Soft Reset. It says it's a Metroidvania. I'm gonna quickly scroll through it. It doesn't look great, but I'm gonna be generous and put it on the follow list anyways. $8.99. So that's the first page. Next one is an interesting choice. We have Balloons Adventure Time Tower Defense. There's better Adventure Time games on Steam. I don't see a reason why I'd want to play a tower defense game. Adventure Time in particular seems to have gone in deep on making game tie-ins, because I know they had a card game that I installed and tried to get into playing, but it wasn't that good. And yeah, this is already rated mixed. It's free to play. Does it have in-app purchases? Yes, it does. That's pretty bad. So yeah, that's not making it to the follow list. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article: Fortnite dance lawsuits continue with Orange Justice. The mother of Orange Short Kid sues Epic Games for copyright infringement for the following campaign that saw dance included in game. I don't know who Orange Short Kid is. So there's no videos almost ever in GameIndustry.biz articles, and this would be a very useful time in which they did have a video. We'll see. I guess we'll see if these lawsuits ever make it to the courts and what the courts have to say with any of that. And then finally we have a game on Steam called Bright Memory Episode 1. And this looks very published. This is like a Chinese game, but you can see it's already overwhelmingly positive, super fast-paced first-person shooter with some score-based hacking, slashing, killing. It says it's early access. It's $6.99. It's English and simplified Chinese. Yeah, there's really no reason why this shouldn't be on the fall list. Now, it needs to come out of early access. The episode 1 needs to be resolved. This might really only be like 5 to 10 minutes of, well, 5 to 10 hours of gameplay, I bet, not 10 minutes. This has a energy leash like Bulletstorm and guns like Bulletstorm, so they've taken the concept of Bulletstorm and added hacking and slashing with weapons, which is a smart move. And have a slightly interesting character look. Yeah, nothing looks terrible here. So yeah, that'll go on the fall list. And then that just puts me on the Humble Bundle store, which I already bought the Humble Bundle, but I'll talk about it. We have the Humble Double Fine Presents Bundle, where you can get the game called Mountain and 140 and Thoth, Thoth, for $1 if you want the Steam key, or any amount if you don't want the Steam key. And then if you pay more than the average of $7.31, you get GNOG, which is a game I very much would like, and a Scapegoat 2, which I'd be cool with getting that too. I think those are both on the wish list. But that's a very high price, certainly, for the average, particularly since this just started like yesterday. And then if you pay $10 or more, you get Gang Beasts and everything, which, yeah, the game is called Everything. As for other bundles, there aren't any video game bundles. And I don't think that there's really any need to look at Twitter and see if the world is blown up. I mean, the world kind of has blown up. Russia, again talking about Russia, apparently claimed that Ukraine will soon no longer be a country, and they've been trying to invade and take over Ukraine for quite a while. But I don't know how that's really related to video games. It really isn't. So that's gonna be it for this stream. I have a lot to do off screen, both on the European and Asian accounts. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. When you subscribe, please click the notification bell also. And if you want to support me even further, you can support me through Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.